y'all.
Woo!
Y'all missed us for a little while, but we ain't going nowhere. So today we have special guests. These are our first guests ever on the show.
Yeah.
We got Miesha and Jennifer Tidwell.
Welcome.
And of course, by the way we're dressed in these beautiful shades of color, we are doing colorism today, which is a tough topic. We're excited about it. We're going to share our experiences and get into it and talk about some family traumas, community traumas, and hope we can open some, what's the right word?
Dialogue.
Ladies? Dialogue, and have good conversations about the importance of discussing colorism with our moms, kids, and our friends.
Absolutely.
So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you,
honored.
ladies.
Glad to have you. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a brief description of what Wikipedia says that colorism is. And colorism is a prejudice or discrimination that favors people with lighter skin over those with darker skin.
Great topic.
Yeah.
So, Miesha, can you give us a life experience?
Oh, for sure. So growing up, I was always called chocolate or black. And this is from family. And I absolutely hated it to the point that I would be crying to my mother and then she would get into it with whoever called me that. They may not have meant any harm, but for me, it was just like, you're not calling anybody else chocolate, so why are you calling me that? So I always knew from like a small kid that I was different than the other family members because I grew up like the darkest person in my family.
Wow.
And Jennifer?
Well, my experience, because I'm mixed, my mother is a white woman, but she's actually Irish, and my father is black, and he has a mixture of Indian. So I didn't know how to identify myself as a mixed girl, but growing up, people would call me white girl, or, in my mother's side of the family, they would say things like, how does it feel to be a black girl? So that made me feel a little awkward being with her family. But then when I would come back into my community, I would try to change who I was because I was around my other family. And then I'll come back into the black community and I'll say, I need to be more urban. But, I just didn't understand who I was as a young child.
And you think the community had an effect on how you perceived yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that was just true of me. I'm the lightest. My brother wasn't born yet, so I would have been the lightest growing up. So I had the same issue. Light skin, wannabe, white girl, Oreo, all of that.
All of that.
And I hated it. Even guys, they think it's cute to say, "What's up, red bone?" And I'm like,
or light skin.
Yeah, light skin. And I don't know what that is. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the impact that their words have on you and how they stick with you for such a long time. How about your life experience?
I don't really have a lot of different life experiences personally, but as far as just being a brown skinned girl, I get a lot of people to say, to say that you're so pretty, like you're brown skin, you're so, and it's like, is that a compliment? Like sometimes I feel like it's a compliment, but other times I feel like, what do you really mean by that? Because it's a lot of brown-skinned women that are beautiful. I feel like everybody is beautiful in their own way. Yes. So you can find something with each and every one, individual person that you can find something nice to say about them, about their appearance and what they look like. So it's like when it's overkill, that's when I kind of question it. Like, what are you trying to say? Exactly. Or I also, because my hair is blonde, it's like, oh, you look good with that blonde hair. I mean, I just never would have, chose blonde as a brown skinned chocolate girl, and it's like you can wear whatever color you want to wear, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just glad that now maybe being a representation of having color and being brown, that I make other people feel comfortable, like you should try it, you should get it. If that's what you want, do what you want to do. It's, we can do what we want to do. It's just
the right
you
shade.
can change it if you don't like it, but wear your color.
Okay.
You're so funny.
Well, I will repeat the same thing that Saya went through. I don't really have many experiences because, as I was sharing before, I come from a blended family, well blended, And thank God I had never had those experiences. However, my grandmother has been talking to me a lot just about the topic. I think if you live through it and you've lived to be 85 years old, you've seen some things. And so I will share the fact that she told me that a lot of women, if you were not my complexion or lighter, you couldn't work at the counter, taking orders or being seen in the front. That just wasn't a thing. Being out of the sun was really pressed in our community because you didn't want to get any darker. And so I do remember I went swimming when I was a kid, and my other grandmother, I remember her saying, well, don't stay out there too long because you don't want to get too dark now. You know, you got to make sure. And so as a kid, I didn't think much of it. But it does make you think about how much sun you're going to intake. And so I think that what may be harmless, what we think is harmless, it does affect others. And so I just been listening a lot to my grandmother lately of what the disadvantages that we really did have. Her being born in the 30s, she saw a lot. And so taking into account of how we make one another feel is really, really important because we don't know how we're affecting somebody. Just because they smile in your face does not mean that they received what you said.
True.
In a way that you thought was appropriate.
And what I think is interesting about what you said was, I think your grandmother was a healthier grandmother, because my grandmother was the complete opposite. It was always you high yellow heifer. I think she had an issue with lighter skin. My grandmother was darker. She was dark, tall. She was a little, butch. Oh, I didn't mean to say butchy, but like
Okay.
robust.
Healthy.
Yes. So she was almost 6 feet and a little darker. But I heard high yellow heifer so much, and for me, it was kind of traumatizing. Like, the opposite of what your grandmother gave you was the lessons, and mine was more like, should I be ashamed? Yeah, should I be ashamed of myself because I'm lighter? But she didn't like my mother either, so it was both of us high yellow heifers.
Well,
And
it's
we
interesting.
I'm sorry. But we speaking on grandmothers, I never met either grandmother.
Yeah, I didn't meet my mother's mother, but my father's mother.
I
was
never
there.
knew any of my grandparents because they were all gone by the time I grew up. So, when
But my grandmother was born in 39. She just turned 85. And reverse in the house, she was the one who taught me the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
That's right.
She constantly poured that into me, that black is beautiful, black is beautiful. But I didn't realize until I was older that my sister, who's lighter, she was always calling her red. And my sister hated it. I didn't know that then. Or she would say, don't think you better because you high yellow. And these comments went on for a long time. But as a kid, I just, I thought my sister was getting smart at the mouth, and that was like her comeback. But then I found out, like, my grandmother dealt with colorism as she was growing up. Like, her lighter sisters were treated differently in her opinion.
I was going to ask you, but I know your grandmother's chocolate. She's beautiful.
It was passed down. So it's like a generational curse.
that's a good word for it.
That's a great word for it.
Well, for me, out of my siblings, my brother is browner. And I'm the only girl that is my color. So we didn't go through I guess we did, because I have my sister under me was light. And so we used to tease her that she wasn't our sister because we had color and she didn't. But the thing is that on my dad's side, my grandfather looked white. So he had nappy hair, but he had on a hat. You wouldn't know that he was a black man. And so that whole side, my grandmother was chocolate. And all the kids they had looked mixed. They were like light skinned. Nobody had color other than my grandmother. So it was like weird for me to have. I'm browner than my dad. I was browner than my mom. And I liked it, because I seen other people that had color, so I liked it. But when I realized that things can be hurtful, I apologize to my sister, because not knowing how that made her feel, she would want to be tanned. She would want to be out. She always wanted a dark man because she had a dark man because she's so light. And so when I think about all of that, the color thing bothered her. I didn't feel that way because I wasn't teased that way. You know?
Right.
So when I recognized that, I heard a family member call their child Blackie. And it bothered me because, you're giving her this name on what she looks like and not realizing how it's affecting her. And so she said, well, they call her dad Blackie. But is it something good? Because the rest of your kids aren't dark as she is. And you're pointing out her color, which makes it hard for her to adjust.
Yeah.
And she didn't see it that way, but I'm explaining it to her. As you get older, you realize those scars as a kid that our family, our inside, our family gave us, not, outside, the people inside. And it scarred you. I remember my sister-in-law calling my daughter Marshmallow because of her skin color, but, or Butter because of her skin color. And I said, can y'all not do that? We're all black, so let's not talk about color. It doesn't matter. We all have different hues, so it doesn't matter.
I think it's tough in the black community in general because the colorism thing started way before we could even imagine slave days and all of that. I mean, how do you feel it affects the people around you in the community? Like, do you hear it a lot? Is it an issue for your daughter?
It's interesting because my oldest daughter is dark as me, but she's never been teased for her color. She's always just been considered a beautiful girl. And Demi, when she was little, maybe kindergarten, she didn't know why she wasn't lighter, which was the strangest thing, but it was because of her environment of who she went to school with. A lot of Caucasians, we went through a whole traumatic, heartbreaking, why is my hair not straighter? Why is it, all of those things. So I've had both because I personally didn't think I could birth a light child. And my husband would tell you in the hospital when they gave her to me, I was like, oh my gosh, she looked Chinese. But it's just crazy. But to piggyback off what she said, I heard Blackie so much that I thought that was probably going to be a nickname of mine. So, the colorism, I was intentional about not doing with my kids. My youngest daughter looks like her dad, and he's lighter, who thinks he's not light. And then my older son is dark. But it definitely stems from the community.
It does.
Well, I'm going to come in and ask, so my question to you was about, did you grow up struggling with your identity, but you hit on that in your story. And so I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more of that when it came to identity. How did you learn how to just embrace? Did you embrace, look, I am both white, Irish, and black and Indian, or I'm just going to be Jennifer? What was the moment of I don't want to struggle, or do you still kind of go back and forth with that thing?
I don't go back and forth with it now. As a child, I did, because I didn't know exactly which side to go to. Should I go to the more Caucasian side, or because my mother was Caucasian, so I can be considered Caucasian, or should I go to the African American side because my father is that? So, I kind of balanced it as a kid because I took in notes on both sides. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take notes over here because I like the way that they entertain or the way that they speak.
Yeah.
And then over here, I like the fact that, I can just be laid back and just be myself. And so I just kind of blended it together, and that's why I'm Jennifer. I'm just unique. I'm different.
You
Say that, girl.
You
Say
Jenny
that,
from the
girl.
block. You
I'm
Jenny
just
from the
different.
block.
So, it doesn't bother me now, but when I was younger and people would call names like white girl or yellow girl or red bone.
Red bone. Ugh.
They would call me all kind of names. It was just so many, I can't even name them. But
I know.
it would bother me when I was younger. But as I got older, I kind of understood who I was. I just didn't know who I was as a young girl. I just didn't understand. And I would ask questions. And my mom, it was a movie I can't think of terms. It's not terms.
Imitation of Life.
Imitation of Life.
I watch that with my daughters every year.
So
It's a
yeah, it
great
was
movie.
Imitation of Life. My mom made me watch it because I would always say, "You don't have to come to my school. My dad will come." And she would say, "Well, why don't you want me to come?" Because they teased me about my mom being Caucasian.
Really?
So I didn't want her there. And she had red hair, you know, but she wasn't the typical Caucasian woman. So, you know, it was
Don't
different.
get it twisted.
Because she wasn't, because she'd cuss all the kids out, you know, but I just didn't want her there. But my father was a little bit different because I'm like, well, maybe he can come. And she was just like, no, I'm coming. But she made me watch the movie. And when I watched the movie, I think that changed my perspective of, you know, who I really am. Because I would never want to lose, even though I did lose my mom, but I would never want to lose her in those circumstances where I didn't want her around.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she made me watch that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, because that matters.
And I think community-wise, just to reiterate Edith's question, was the self-hate was very much taught.
Yes.
Even in their homes, like Black boys were growing up with these dark mothers, and they saw lighter women outside of the home, just like an example, and so it was like they favored that. So you really didn't have boys chasing you as a dark girl until you got older, and then for whatever reason, it's almost like a switch. Like men are more apt to a variety of. It's not about just but when you're younger, and I think back now because I grew up in the house with my uncles, like. Everybody they were bringing home was really light, fair skin.
I thought about that yesterday, and I think it's really too. When you think about it, you never really saw black dark women on TV. So they all they saw all the time was Lena Hornes and the lighter women because society put lighter women on a pedestal.
I think Diane Carroll was probably the brownest,
and she ain't even that brown.
but she was the brownest of those that was out there.
Yeah, but I think that what comes with black is negative anyway. The word black is dark and derogatory. So people already, but it's so many beautiful. I mean, we come in so many shades. It's beautiful. But growing up for me was very like traumatic because I grew up with all white people. Growing up, kindergarten. Well, not kindergarten, but first grade all the way to 10th grade, and my sister had it bad. She did. And she blamed me for it. And we really had a strained relationship for a long time, a good 20 years, because she said I always had it easy because I was light-skinned. And maybe the white people did take to me more because I was lighter, but I was also very outgoing, athletic. I joined a lot of groups. She was more quiet and maybe a little bit more insecure. So maybe that, in my mind, I don't think it probably was her color, but in my mind, I never thought about it that way until she explained it to me. And I felt bad about it because I dismissed it for so long. And now that I'm older, I understand it because I hate it. What's up, red bone? Hey, light skin.
Well, you know what's interesting? Me and Edith did an event like 2010, and she spoke on this to the young girls at the Girl Talk, and she's talked about how she was teased as a light-skinned woman, and I never heard a light-skinned person in my life until that moment tell me that they had been. I always only saw it happen to dark-skinned people.
I think that people don't realize, especially men, that women are not attracted by the name calling. Like, if you think that by saying, what's up, red bone, or what's up, like, it's not attractive. It's not like, oh, that was so nice.
Right.
Not, hey, beautiful. Or you're identifying me based on my skin color, and it's already given a negative connotation. So it's not a healthy, I don't know, it's never been healthy for me. Even though it doesn't bother me now, when I hear men say it, I went to Africa, and our driver, you think you're better? You think you're better because you're light? I said, no. And it was crazy because we talked about it. I was telling KB and them about this. I said, it's amazing that you go to another country and it's the same thing.
Same thing.
And then I met these people in the airport. One of them was Ricky Smiley and this other guy and another, and they were talking about it. And the lady was white. And she said that she was dealing with another culture, Middle Eastern culture. And that is the same issue. The lighter Middle Easterns get treated different than the darker ones. So it's not just a black cultural thing. It's a people thing.
It's a people thing.
Lighter is just supposedly better.
Yeah.
It is. And I think what you were saying, Miesha, I think the conversation is not had enough to know how light-skinned women may feel, you know, and then we can't speak for all because some do like the way that they are talked to and
Yeah.
that they are supreme. You know, we can't leave that out because there are certain women who do feel like they're better than brown
Even
skinned
dark-
women,
oh, yeah.
dark skinned women.
And that you hit
have-
that on you right
That's
about
very
that.
true.
you know, there are women who feel like, you know, let's talk about it. Like, you go to the club, the bouncer is probably more prone to letting in the lighter skinned woman with the long hair. You know, she don't have to have a body. She could just, as long as she's light and
Yes.
pretty, she's gonna get in the club before.
And the sections.
Yes, and the sections.
they talk
when
about
I
that.
did club, I witnessed it right in front of me. You know, like, that's going to happen. You are going to be passed over. They're looking and they're judging each woman by the way that they look and what is appealing to his eye.
Especially
And
in Miami.
so for some women, you know, that makes them feel like they are more elite. They are chosen. And if you talk about media and what is shown on the screen or on the magazines, you're going to see that, you know, Viola Davis being put on a magazine is a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a
big deal.
huge deal. You
And
know,
she's beautiful.
she's, I mean, makeup lines
Black
actually.
women in general were beautiful.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Women of Brewster's Place was one of my first renditions of seeing like a variety of women and all of the issues that plagued them all and all of these different colors. And Cicely Tyson was like, I remember seeing her on TV as a kid and floored that they let that dark skinned lady be on TV. That's literally how my mindset was. That it was a
Really?
privilege for her to get a chance to be on TV.
Yeah.
But I thought she was so beautiful. And,
I mean, they
and that's
still
why
talk about that.
representation matters, because the more I started seeing dark skinned women on TV, I just began to think Black is beautiful. But I didn't believe that in my own community.
Right.
Seeing it somewhere else is
Right.
what made me believe that.
My first not interaction personally, but just seeing that colorism is an issue was watching School Days. That was my first
Yeah,
School
as
Days.
a
That's a
child.
big one.
That was a big
You
one.
know,
100%.
seeing the difference between, you know,
Sororities
what the
and-
sororities
yeah.
and what people thought and how they felt, and that's what I was like, wow, people really, you know, this is a
I've
thing.
heard someone recently say that a certain sorority, they look dirty.
Oh, wow.
Like in the 2020s.
Wow.
Yes. And so that's just like, it's just still there.
Spike Lee is good with that though, because just think about the names, Wannabe and Jigaboo.
Yeah.
As if I could help what color I came out of my
Yeah,
mother's
you
womb.
cannot.
You cannot
And,
help
and I
it.
think that's what I always thought about when I was younger. Why are they so mad? As if I was like, let me pick this color. It's like
Right.
you can't help who you are, but I think it helped shape me too, because going from being in a white school to then going to a black school, I had to kind of code switch like Jennifer, because when I got to Heights, baby, I thought I was Cyndi Lauper. I didn't know. I'm serious. I was like on 10, like, oh my God, you guys. And they was like, that ain't gonna work here. Not at Heights, baby. You want to be
listen,
white girl. It
You
didn't work.
saying that, I wanted to go to a white school. I asked my mom, but she was like, no, you're going to go to Shaw, and that's where you're going.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to a white school.
I got black though. I was black in 2 weeks.
Because I wanted, no, listen, I wanted to experience that. I wanted to see what it was like to be around Caucasians. I did. I wanted to see what it was like.
Did you
because
get to go?
No, I never did. She made me stay where I was, you know. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad I did, but I did want to experience that. I didn't experience it until I got older and start being around different people, and it was my choice. It's where I started going to different places and meeting different people. But growing up, I wanted to see what it was like.
I think it's different when you grow up with white people as opposed to being an implant, because your experience is different. I didn't know no different. So it was like, oh my God, Becky, am I coming over? Like, are we having macaroni for dinner? Like, you know, it's like, I'm just saying, it was different. So when I got to Heights, and they was kind of like, where you think you at? Who are you? It was weird, but I had to
They like, we eat
adjust to
ribs
my
over here.
environment.
We eat no macaroni.
You have to adjust to your environment, but just imagine how hard it was. Hard for me. I cried a lot. I'm not gonna be honest. I cried a lot. I had never had a fight before till I got to Heights. It was a tough 2 years.
Yeah.
Because of the self-hate of the girls. When you came in, you were an intimidation.
Yes.
Because we felt so bad about ourselves.
Right.
Her just being her made you feel even. It's so crazy.
But I had to fight too.
Yeah.
You know, I had to fight.
Science says she never fought, but they used to torture me like, oh, you think you better?
Your
You think
hair.
you cute?
My
Girl,
hair.
what hair? My hair thick.
No,
it's nappy.
they
I
used to
ain't got
talk
no
about my
hair.
hair.
But so
Oh, yeah, your hair.
I
Yeah.
went through that. So you think you cute because you have long hair. You think you
Or
cute because
good
your hair is
hair.
like that. Good
You
hair.
think I'm
And
cute.
I'm like, you
do.
think I'm cute.
Right.
Because
You think
I'm
I'm
used to this hair. This is the only hair that I know. So I'm gonna know no different. I'm gonna do what I do. I mean, I got into fights, all kind of stuff. about my hair.
Wow.
Why are you trying to fight me? What can I do about my hair to make my hair different like yours?
Just cut it
How
off.
do I
Just
do
cut it
that?
off.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And it was really bad. And I was like forced into fighting because I was scared.
I was forced to.
I was forced into fighting, and then once
You don't want to
like,
fight
we
nobody
had-
scared.
Once it happened,
You gonna win every time.
Once it happened, it was like the door was open. So
Right, you just learn
I
to fight
didn't
Try
didn't
to be
care,
one
but
too.
I had that issue with the hair.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? Are you mixed? Are you
I was gonna
Puerto
say
Rican?
that. That was my
Are
next
you Puerto
question. How many
Rican?
people
Are
said,
you
what are you mixed
Mexican?
with?
Are you Dominican?
I get that all the
And I'm
time.
like, I'm black. Black women can have hair. Both of my parents are black. We are not mixed. And my dad had his grandmother was mixed, but that's some down the line. On my mom's side, all the people was black or Indian, but we black. So you can't choose. You can't.
We
fault
all
me
blended.
because
But
I got
that- we all
but
blended.
that comes down to when
sort
a
of chocolate.
community is raised off of survival.
right.
So as African Americans, we thrive off of survival, and we've been trying to survive
Ever since
slavery.
slavery.
So you talking about surviving means that you're the problem. It's not me. And if I don't have a mother in the house to tell me how beautiful I am, how important I am, how when I walk in the room, put your shoulders back, put your head up, then I'm going to be intimidated by every other person because nobody's in the house feeding the love. If you feed a child love, their brain is conditioned differently.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's been noted and taken, and so, but if you are raised, how many children have been raised off of what we just said, those words, blackie, dark,
Our grandmothers, mothers, aunts, cousins.
then they start thinking like, because you dark skin, you stupid. How I'm dumb. I can,
I
come on,
heard
like,
that.
like that's a real thing, you know?
I think it's for both.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just dark skin. I think it's for light skin as well.
Because you too like to think,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like you
You
can't
look
be
goofy.
smart.
You're
You acting
ignorant.
light skin.
Yeah.
We
Even
do
for
have a
men, though,
little
think
light
about light
skin,
skinned men, how
dark
bad
skin
they
joke
get
in
it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm telling
Yeah,
y'all.
because we say that about, oh no, I don't want no light skinned man. He gonna think he cuter than me.
Yeah, well, hey, you like what you like.
Man,
I never want no light skin man. High maintenance.
mom
High maintenance. I ain't got time.
I'm the
See, that's
oldest
the
of
stereotype.
8. And so I'm the oldest of 8. And my mother birthed 4 dark kids and 4 light kids.
Wow.
And so I'm the only dark girl. All of the girls are lighter. And so the lighter kids were making like these jokes that were always like, we call them a blind moment. Like somebody asked my sister, what are you gonna wear on your birthday suit? And she was like, how much those cost? And ever since that day, we've been like light skin. It's like, so, but it's those lighthearted things
yeah.
that somebody might have went home feeling like inadequate. So
Yeah.
I even have to check myself in my grown age.
Yeah, that's true. Because what we think is funny in our community, it really be like, hey, that is sick.
That's
like,
torturous.
Why do we
In
think
all communities.
Yeah.
Well, I can only speak for mine. I ain't gonna show up for the other ones because they gonna say you black. And what we do is it's crazy. And so
You with the blended family, they wouldn't say that.
Now that's true, but we blended. They probably say I was the celebrity of the family because I got to come in with everything dripping and doing the most.
Right.
I'll take that one. But I appreciate that though because I learned to love everybody. So I don't even see
Me too.
that type of stuff. Like I'm not worried about that. I'm just like, you know what? We all gonna have us a good time. I can learn a lot. If I open up my mind to what can I learn from this person? And I think that as a community we open up our minds. Go ahead.
We always have to open our minds.
Yeah.